Meanwhile, a top US general has now finally admitted, after several days of criticism, that the United States of America had actually made a fatal mistake in the drone strike that it carried out over what it claimed originally was a suspected ISIS Khorasan target in central Kabul just days before the Americans withdrew completely. Now remember, this drone strike had resulted in the killing of 10 civilians, including 7 children of a family. The drone strike by the Americans was carried out during the final days of the American exit from Afghanistan last month. The U.S. Central Commander, General Kenneth McKenzie, has said that the strike was in fact meant to hit a suspected ISIS Khorasan target that had its sight set on attacking the Kabul airport. The Americans originally claimed that the car that they targeted in fact was on its way to carry out another suicide bombing of sorts. The U.S. intelligence had quote-unquote reasonable certainty. However, the strike turned out to what the Americans are now finally admitting as a tragic mistake.
I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike. Moreover, we now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces. I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed. This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology. As the combatant commander, I am fully responsible for this strike and this tragic outcome.
Now, according to General McKenzie, the U.S. forces had tracked this white car reportedly for 8 hours. It was seen near what the Americans describe as an ISIS hideout in Kabul. The U.S. forces further claimed that they had received intelligence that the site in question was apparently being used to prepare for attacks on the Kabul airport. It was believed that the car had been loaded with explosives. All of these are, of course, American claims. But the people who died in the U.S. strike included 7 children of a family. And none of the victims was in any way related to any terror organization, leave alone the Islamic State. In fact, the family that was killed was in fact of a man from Afghanistan who was an Afghan national who had worked for the Americans in one of their aid groups. McKenzie, however, defended the U.S. operation as a self-defense strike carried out by the Americans. He said that there were some serious concerns about an attack on the airport in the last days of the chaotic American evacuation. Pentagon and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has also apologized to the relatives of those who've been killed, but it is unlikely that there would be more action that will be taken by the Americans for the fatal mistake that they have carried out.
As the Secretary says in this statement, we apologize and we will endeavor to learn from this horrible mistake. And to that end, he has directed a thorough review of the investigation just completed by U.S. Central Command.
Remember, this feeble apology by the Americans has come on the back of growing international questions over what strike did the Americans actually carry out, because the targets in this case happened to be 7 young children besides 3 family members of the same family. On the 26th of August, remember, the ISIS Khorasan unit had carried out a suicide bombing that had resulted in deaths of over 200 Afghan nationals and about 13 U.S. service members at the Kabul airport. The attack came at a time when many Afghans and also foreign nationals were making desperate attempts to flee from Afghanistan as they feared the Taliban rule. And I also earlier spoke with our correspondent Anas Malik, who's been tracking this story very closely for us. Remember, Anas Malik was in fact at the house where the Americans carried out the drone strike just a few hours after the drone strike. He had also spoken with the family members of the 10 people who were killed. And this is the report that he's filed this morning.
The U.S. side has admitted to admission of guilt. It has said that the drone strike that it did on the 29th of August in Khwaja Bugra area of Kabul, a first of its kind in U.S.'s 20-year-long and old war on terror, that has killed innocent civilians and not ISK militants, contrary to what was being portrayed. WION had been reporting it. We had been reporting it on ground since the day one. I was there the very next day. And now, as we speak, the family is awaiting justice. The family of Zumurai and his brother Emil. Emil is alive. Zumurai lost his life. Zumurai was an aid worker who was working at a charity organization. They were awaiting visas to head out of the country just days before they had applied, and they were awaiting visas to leave Afghanistan due to the dire situation when their car was wrongly struck by a United States drone. Emil Ahmadi, the brother, is awaiting justice, and he has said that he will be knocking all doors through social media as well, because the US does not have any military or diplomatic presence in Kabul. Therefore, he would be knocking all doors to seek justice for his brother and his family members and his brother's family members as well. Aras Palek in Kabul, Afghanistan, for WION, World is One. This was the interior of the car.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.